Welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do thank you as you're getting through your week here on to Thursday. The weekend is just right around the corner, and we're just right around the corner from just about getting finished up on all of this draft coverage, looking at these individual prospects, and we turn our way towards the 7th round today. We're going to go back and look at Cable Due next week, maybe a little bit of Richmond as well, but today I want to concentrate on two of these 7th rounders as much as for any reason because of how excited I am for them. So today and tomorrow we'll be looking at two guys that in a draft where you could have a lot of fans bicker and argue in a fun way over who was the best pick, what was the best value had in the draft. Both of the pair of the 7th rounders we're going to be looking at over the next 2 days could certainly be those two players we end up looking at years down the line saying that was actually the best pure value. There might be better players or guys that have more of a star potential, but just to get that value at that spot of the draft, unbelievable. And I can say with pretty good confidence that in dealing with Seahawks fans through many different years and discussing with them, that this is a fan base that has an affinity for a certain type of running back. It's a fan base that has an appreciation for a certain type of mentality that a certain type of running back can bring to play when they're carrying that rock. And I'm talking about the big, bad back. I'm talking about the aggressive style of runner, that tough, physical, angry runner who just refuses to go down. You're going to have to snuff him out before you tackle him. Every single run giving you every bit of willpower they have in their heart to be completely unwilling to go down, to fight through every tackle. We love that here. We've had a good amount of it here with some of the Coach Carroll type running backs that had come through, but most, of course, notably being Marshawn Lynch, and that he was a man that was just so much fun to watch, and we could feel through that sort of unbreakable will and that just wanting to be the style of runner he was, and so almost kind of unique to himself versus the rest of the backs in the league at that time, what that then did to the rest of the team as far as a mentality. And I think that's part of why they were so informed moving forward, looking for similar kind of backs, a Thomas Rawls or a Chris Carson, who could fit to that kind of mold and to that kind of style, because it provides kind of multiple benefits to it. Yeah, you get a guy that can grind out the tough yards, can be a good short yardage back, but these are also the type of running backs that can wear defenses down. So when I talk about Damien Martinez, the Seattle Seahawks 7th round pick out of Miami, I'm not just merely talking about an also-ran 7th round running back who will be fodder for the roster, may not make it, may not. I have a lot of confidence this guy's not only going to make the roster, but he's going to find a role on this team, and you're going to see this guy get some carries. There's one real key to it, which we're going to get into, which is really probably going to be the defining aspect of him, whether he's successful or failure, and it's not injuries. It's not about his ability. It's a little bit more related maybe to something else on that. But we're going to look deeply here a little bit at Damien Martinez today, and you should get excited by this running back. There is no way that he should have fallen into the 7th round. I think, like I said, there's two kind of specific, distinct things that probably caused a little bit of that drop, on top of the fact that this was just such a great draft for running backs. This was the kind of draft in a running back class where you're very likely to go into the 6th, 7th round and find a great running back, a starter at least. Maybe not great, but a guy that this guy ends up becoming a starter that we grabbed in the 7th round, and he's a player, and he's good, and he shouldn't have gone this deep. How did this happen? I think we're going to be saying that a little bit about Damien Martinez. And he's a guy with a good amount of college production, a little bit of that commonality that we have seen here in recent years or not recent year, but in this last draft class where it was so much of standing out that you both went for, guys that have a real high projection side, but they also had the productivity that they're bringing with them. This guy with a little bit of some upside that he offers to him, and has also had some really good productivity through college. When it starts out with the raw score, he's not going to really light the world on fire with that. 4.5, 140. 1.5, 8, 10-yard split. These are fine numbers, but they're obviously not elite numbers, but they're really good numbers when you do probably consider as much the weight. He got down to 217 pounds to get that 40 down to 4.5, but this is a guy that does truly play right up around that 230-pound weight. He's a guy that's going to be a big guy in that way, a legit big guy in that way. So not an undersized guy, just kind of leaned down in this way. His raw score at 9.35 is still more than very respectable at that rate. Had a decent broad jump, about average vertical leap when it's all said and done on that. So he provides a good athletic profile in what he brings. That's definitely good enough, especially for what is going to be a power back. If you got the fast guys, you're looking maybe more for the 4.4 kind of thing, right? They're going to come in at more of a 205 pounds. But you want the bigger backs. You're not as much worried about them if they're not going to have the pure burner speed, which is something he just doesn't have. As far as his PFF ranks go, had a great year last year, finishing up his final season. 3 really solid years in a row with him as a running back, with his productivity and what he was able to bring on that side of it. He's sitting here, as you can see, we got Genty, no shocker there, number 1. Cam Scatabo right behind him there, but then you do notice Damien Martinez 7th, technically 4th, because this is removing some of the sample size running backs that you have here on this ranking. So the 4th, basically highest graded running back in college football last year, though he wasn't necessarily used a ton. And we look at here on the PFF scores in general for him over a 3-year territory, you can see he's been a very good back right from the jump. 2022 had an 85 grade, this last year at a 91 grade, 83 and 23. Those are all really nice numbers. And you can see that he's really, of course, doing it as far as what he's doing running the rock. This is what you'd expect from him. But 3,000 yards rushing here in his 3-year college career, over 500 attempts, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. You see that over here on how he was utilized. I love this about PFF, and that they'll show you a little bit of whether it was a zone or gap that he was running. And so you can see that when he was with Oregon, he was running a lot more of the zone-based stuff. And I'm going to show you this on some of the cut-ups. First, what he's running there at Miami, which is going to be a little bit more gap-based centric, a little bit more stuff where they're running it out of read option looks and pulling guys across the formation a little bit. So he was utilized differently, which tells you that he's got a bit of versatility in how you can use him, both capable of doing the read option stuff from shotgun and being comfortable there, or if you want to put him under center and have him go outside zone, inside zone, even pitch plays. He's got some ability on that side of it. You can see all 3 years, 75 long this last year, 64. He's also got a 50-yarder, so he's got some breakaway to him. 92 rushes in his 3 years of over 10 yards. So that's a guy that's popping them off, right? And this isn't just a grinder, big back that gets you 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's capable of doing that, certainly, but he's capable of doing more than that as well. So a very good college career from him. You saw he transferred down there to Miami and was able there with success at Oregon State to go a little bit more of a major college program, to go get probably a little bit bigger of an NIL money deal there at the end there on that side of it. But you can see with the statistics that he's put up here on that and how he tested, that on the surface of it, you would say a little bit of why is it that this guy went all the way to the 7th round. Maybe the 5th round, you go, it should be more of a landing spot with them, or even the 4th round with what we've seen historically with these guys who have this kind of productivity. But what you do notice there with Miami with him is he ends up with only really 160 attempts there with Miami. Now, Miami was obviously a little more pass-based with what they've got with Cam Ward there this year, but Mario Cristobal is a guy that is willing to run, and they did work through some different running backs there at Miami, and this is where we're going to get to the 2 main things I think that really do kind of hold him back as far as why he wasn't drafted a little bit higher. First is going to be that he did have a DUI out there in Corvallis, so reckless driving, under the influence, bop-a-da-bop. So they did choose not to file the charges, but there is some things with him about maybe there's some very slightish character concerns within there on that as far as off the field. Not glaring, not horrible, but in a draft that's well-stocked with a lot of running backs that are kind of bulletproof, and you got a little bit of, some detriments to you, that can be enough to kind of knock you down a little bit on the board. And that is combined with coming back to Miami and only the 160 attempts that he pulled off this last year. Granted, it wasn't, used with 200 and 250 attempts at Oregon State either, but that was also a little bit because of the fact that he didn't exactly show up in the best of shape to Miami. And so we get to where maybe NFL teams were reading a little bit between the lines with Damien Martinez, to where they looked at him and they said, okay, you got to Miami, and you could even hear a telecast, and I was doing some research for this where they're talking about it, where, they said the reason he started to get better as the year went along is he shed all that bad weight. They literally called him a potato when he came into the Miami program. And so is that a guy then that gets his NIL money, makes some big money, dials off the gas, isn't working quite as hard? And I think NFL evaluators now are using this as a little bit of an indicator that if that's something that we're getting the sense from you on, that's going to cause you to get dinged down the board. And do you love football? Are you all in on this? Do you just want to be happy to be a football player? I don't think that's this kid's mentality. It's just where these teams will sometimes as much look for reasons to not grab guys as they'll look for reasons to grab them. And that's how you get a diamond in the rough dripping down like they did, like this guy has to us. But he has been very, very productive here as a player for all 3 college programs that he's played at. He runs so very hard. And how hard does he run? He runs harder than Robbie Utes trying to run a 40-yard dash. This is the look on Damien Martinez's face every time he's getting a carry. This right here, just giving you all he's got. But let me show you. Let me not tell you. Let me show you. Right? Let's do a little bit of show and not telling here on this one. Let's get into the tape on this kid because this is going to be some fun tape for you guys. And first, we're going to start off with him. When it comes down to what he did here with Oregon State, kind of some of the looks out at Oregon State, because there's going to be a very big difference between how Oregon State looked to use him and how Miami used him. And a lot of what he did, I think, at Oregon State is going to be a little bit more similar to what he's going to be asked to do here with the zone-centric scheme that we're going to run, especially the under center stuff. And you like this because he's doing some of these runs with an actual legitimate fullback, which is something else that, of course, we're going to include. So just an inside zone run here, and you can feel with him, he's got two things that really work together for him. Number one, some really good lateral bounce, which gets him out of danger. And then, of course, just an ability to just get downhill and behind his pads. And really, the first guy's never that touches him going to tackle him. You're going to need to bring a village with this guy. You got to bring a village. There's no way to it other than that. But inside kind of zone runs here. It's a nice little run, nothing fancy there at Oregon State. Another one here. This is another inside zone run. Gets downhill. You can see here the hole's actually kind of going out to the right. Ends up cutting this back inside. It might be kind of designed with the guy coming back across the formation. But well done on his part to sell it wide. Come back through, squeeze through the hole. And then that nice little cut there. This is the little cut to extend it at the end here where, okay, you've gone through the hole, you got your 5 yards. That should be all there is. Still get you a couple of extra. So I said the first guy's never going to take him down. Never going to happen. Another one here with inside zone. This is a pitch play. So pitch play wide shows a little bit of the ability to get with the speed to the edge. Goes and gets the first down. There's technically a holding call on this play on number 2 there, you can see. But not his fault necessarily. Cool little outside zone run here for a touchdown. Takes it out. Look at that cut. I think 95% of college backs are dead to rights there. Right as he's getting out here, the guy's got him heads up, sideline to your benefit. You shouldn't be able to break this tackle in space. You got a guy right on your heels. See the guy on the heels there, 50, I think it's 54, 94 there, right on his heels. But still is able to come to a quick stop, pick the feet back up, go get the touchdown. So watch it again here. Some real subtle stuff here, but I mean, that's breaking a tackle in a phone booth right there. So he's got the speed to get out to that edge, stop and start, change your direction. Good feel for just how to break the tackle. He's also got some home run ability to him as well. A little bit of home run ability in his bag here. Outside zone, cut it inside, get it back outside. See you later. So the play's meant to go out. It's meant to be outside zone. But what does he feel here? And this is a play where the running back does, I think, smartly. It's the pre-snap read. So when you look over to the right side of the line of scrimmage, take note of all of the white jerseys to the right side of the line of scrimmage, and then take note of the few white jerseys to the left side of the line of scrimmage. So what happens here is that Stanford, essentially the guys to the weak side of the form or to the strong side of the formation, it's an unbalanced line from Stanford, and they're just stupidly lined up here. This is just a dumb alignment. And so what ends up happening is that the guys on the strong side that only have a few numbers, they overstretch to the outside zone. They realize that this is going to go to the outside zone, so they let themselves get pulled out too far. He recognizes this smartly and then cuts this back inside where the hole's developed and then turns on the jets. Where you go, okay, that's 4.5 speed on an open field right there, basically. But a very good job here of reading this to where that's supposed to go out wide. But he senses, see that, not the far guy to the right, the left there, but the other guy really pushing hard to get to that wide. He goes past the other edge defender there, and he's the one who messes this play up for Stanford because he loses his leverage by going outside the outside leverage guy. But that's a smart cut there to get there. How about a cool cut back here? Look at that. Showing you a little bit already the stop and start in an instant, but then the cut back going all the way back across the field. Has an ability to just instantaneously feel a tackler on him and reroute. It's almost beyond vision. It's like kind of just feel. He just can feel the guy there and gets back to daylight. That's an incredible cut on his part. And again, part of why I get so hyped by this guy is that this is just not a move the running backs just all do. That all have the feel to be able to feel the defender and then to break back across the plane like that there. Another one here. This is another nice little cutback. I'm not sure if this is another one where they just call this because they sense what Stanford's doing and they're trying to go to where this is where, again, you see Stanford about fire their defensive coordinator, quite frankly, because they've got the unbalanced line to the left side. Maybe some of this is him reading that prior to the play. You do have the fullback going that way, so it would seem like that's where the play was supposed to go. But he just sensed, especially with watch zero. Zero leaves that his gap for Stanford there. When zero leaves, that hole opens wide and he sees it. But I think this gives him a little bit of an option here, but whether he picks it or not, it's well blocked up. It's a nice hole, but another nice little cut back there. Little hesitation right as he gets the ball to read it and then hits it. So he's got some acceleration, got some ability in with that. Outside zone stuff as well here. So you can feel, and the reason I want to show this because you just don't get as much of this off the Miami tape. It's more just hammering the inside with the RPO kind of option stuff. So this gives you a little bit of a better idea that he can do the stuff that he's going to be asked to do here in Seattle. He's going to have enough speed to get out there to that edge and make it happen. And then here again, you see, never die easy. Never go down easy. Always extending the run. I mean, he pulls this thing off another 3 yards here after he's really done. Really well done. So he moves on. He does move on here from Oregon State down to Miami and brings that downhill running style with him to Miami. It's a lot of this where he's in shotgun. He's just going to take it from shotgun and have to kind of feel and read it. This is where I get some of these snaps to me start to look reminiscent a little bit of a Chris Carson at times. One last stop here of Oregon State with him getting downhill here. Love to see it. Just good feel as he's getting through traffic there. He can sift through the traffic, find the cracks, keep the run extended, feels the flow of the defensive line, gets back up against it. A lot of what you're going to get with him here in Miami on these cut-ups I'm going to show you is going to be what I call bounce and power. Bounce and power. And it's what you really felt from his reps over and over. A bounce here, a bounce there. Unload the power. And it's just going to be carry after carry. This isn't a guy that's going to give you a lot of jukes. There's not really a spin move. You're not going to get much of a stiff arm. There's not a lot in his bag that he's got that's a wide assembly of different things. But he's just going to be able to kind of bounce around, have a feel for things, have a good feel for the hole as it develops and where it's going. So there's some innate things he's got there a little bit. But he's going to be a grinder too. So here again, just kind of, you see 64 kind of, 73 here kind of loses his block. He feels the guy coming around 90 there, the defensive tackle for Florida State. Winds around him. Got to wind around also then the other defensive tackle there on 94 or 64 there, who Jalen Rivers. Rivers kind of is able to reroute him a little bit, but you can see Martinez guy take a little bit of step to the left, get around that traffic. It's a short gain, but could have been stuffed in the backfield if he didn't round himself through there right. Again, real small crack here. Fights off the first tackler, fights off the second tackler. And this is kind of like a Marshawn Lynch-like run, isn't it? Just effortlessly getting off like that there, like just a weak effort. I mean, that's a kind of a business decision tackle right here, where you look like on tape you gave it all that you could. But look how he kind of goes for his feet, doesn't try to really go in there and really wrap up this big man. He's got a little bit of an angle, but he just kind of, these guys that get down the goal line like that, they don't want to tackle these big backs. Yeah, it hurts. That can be painful. Likewise, does that guy really try to fight and get off that block as hard as he possibly can? Yeah, maybe not. But again, as you can see here, You're not bringing him down with the first tackler. He will crush that guy. So, man loses the block on this play, 50. Your center just completely blows his block. Right here, most backs done. See where he's at. Take note of where you've got contact here. A lot of backs are going to stop. Does he fall forward? Does he keep giving you some momentum? He gives you another 4 or 5 yards there after the initial contact. As we go back to it and look at this, just to show you guys again kind of how crazy it was from what he did. The YCO number you're going to see on your screen right here, and as you can see above, that's yards after contact. So my man had 1,000 yards last year rushing. 722 of those yards were after contact. To give you guys an idea of just how lethal he is in his ability there and it carried through his college career. 744 of his 1,185 yards the year before that, and 560 of his 982 yards in 2022 were yards after contact. So it's just an elemental part of his game, what he brings to play. Some more of these bounce kind of plays like this, just power and bounce, feel it. Go through, again, moving the pile. Why do I think he can be a short yardage back? Because of plays like this. Defense kind of knows it's coming here. They're ready for it. Have him stop. He still ends up pulling out another 2-3 yards on the back of that with his power. There are big gains, I know, but this is the part that we need in this offense, the short yardage back. Here, just the feel of vision. I don't know if this is vision or feel for him, where he can just sense there's no hole there and then just sort of bounces it to the other outside. But I love the sense that this hole's closed. Let me get over here. Quickness laterally to get to those spots. It's a different kind of speed than explosive quickness or just pure speed. First guy, can't bring him down. Never going down easy. Get your head down, push that pile. I know these aren't going to be like sensational runs. It's just look at number 7. Number 7 comes up, hits him here. 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, 4 yard. So still keeps giving you more after he's really should be tackled and done with. It's that Chris Carson aspect of things. You kind of feel too. Kind of a combo, a little bit of Marshawn and Chris. A little bit of shake. I wouldn't call it a full juke move. It's more of kind of a dead leg that he'll do, where he just kind of comes to a stop and reroutes with his feet, but completely loses this guy. Whoop, see ya. And again, finishes the run, always finishes the run. Another one here, no hole, find the hole, keep it extended, break a couple tackles, keep going. Look at this. That's ridiculous. 1 broken tackle, 2 broken tackle, 3 broken tackle. Almost a 4th there. Still needs a second guy to bring the guy down at the end there. Still extends the run, doesn't go down at the end, still trying to get a couple extra yards there at the end. What a great run. Hole completely closed, just a wall. Finds the hole, bounces it out. That's second cut here too. This one right here. Oh my goodness. Look out. How does he even feel this guy coming from his back left? And then the way that just number 4, just effort. We saw that one where he had the touchdown run where the guy, are you even trying to tackle him? And they are. Trust me, they are. It's just the guy's contact balance, power, strength. It looks like the guys aren't trying, but they are definitely trying. It's just that this guy's such a bull with the ball in his hands. Hard to bring those guys down. A little delay here. A little peekaboo move here too. You like this as well. He'll get out of trouble in the backfield occasionally. Center just gets walked back on skates right off the rip. So he's got to kind of set this defensive tackle up. So see that he knows he wants to go to the left here the whole way, but he wants to first pull the defensive tackle to the right. Pull him to the right. Now I can come back to the left and go. You neutralize it's not penetration here, but it's basically almost the guy being able to take the hand off when you take it. Subtle little thing, but there's some subtle movements to what this guy does, which is why I want to highlight it. It's purposeful, subtle stuff. It's not by accident. Little run here. Just a hard run. Nice bounce. Find the hole. He's got to first go find the hole, then finish the run. Bounce and power. Bounce and power. We got a scrum. Another scrum here. Another supposed to go inside, gets it outside, doesn't stretch it too far outside. Comes out of this, cuts this up sharply inside. Nice little block by Elijah Arroyo there. Good little pin block. I like that by Arroyo. Number 8. Well done. But doesn't take this too far out wide. Keeps making sure he gets north and south really quick. Very efficient runner. He's not going to waste a lot with that. He's going to try to get uphill, downhill. He's going to get those yards going. He's going to finish the runs. There's not a lot of east and west with this guy. North and south. Another run out of shotgun. Another one where you just have to kind of bounce and feel through traffic. Supposed to go A gap. A gap's clogged. Get it back over to the B. Find yourself a good 5-6 yard gain. Clogged. Go get yourself 5 yards. I mean, he's creating it. The hole's not there. He's finding the hole. You get a lot of freedom here from these read option looks to kind of find that hole, but you still got to locate it. You got to have the vision. You got to have the feel for how the play's developing. And you don't get any time as a running back in these read option carries like this. They much more prefer where the guy's under center and they get the opportunity to get some build-up speed and a chance to really look at the defense and what they're doing. Here, the defense is just kind of always on top of you. But again, first tackler, no, you're not getting there. Guys got him right in the hole. Right in the hole. This should be a pretty clean and easy tackle for this guy. Look, nobody's blocking him. Arroyo just completely goes the other way. So it's me and you, man. It's me and you in the hole. What do you got? And look at that. Ends up on the ground, clutching at his ankles. We've seen a lot of that already, haven't we? And that's partly because these guys go so hard at his ankles because they know they have no chance going high on him. That's just not going to work. But another extended run, again off the power and bounce. More here, just bouncing his way through. Bounce, and then just get up the field. With that little bounce there, how effective is that at shaking the tackle? It's not a juke. It's not a stutter step. It's not even a dead leg. It's just I'm coming this way, and then suddenly I'm going to bounce the other way, and you're going to be grabbing for my ankles. Stuff that I think is going to translate to the NFL level with him. This tackle breaking ability. This is another one of those in plays that I'd show to say, here's how you can have some confidence. Guy could be a short yardage back. Because he makes contact right here with 2 guys. 2 guys got him, both their hands on him. You really shouldn't get an extra 3 or 4 yards in this situation. But instead, an extra 2 yards. I don't want to overstate it. But the fact you're falling forward on contact, that you don't just stop and that you keep going forward, I think he's going to at least be able to carve out that short yardage roll, bare minimum. Another inside zone. Oh, same play, sorry. Same play. And this is really why I wanted to show the Oregon State one, because you can see that this is just what Miami did with him. Out of shotgun, give him the ball. Cristobal's offense is pretty. We know from the Herbert days that as a head coach, he struggles to really have very much of a dynamic offense. Ward did a lot for them last year. But penetration in the backfield here. Literally hits his guy. We've seen a lot of this in Seattle recently, haven't we? This move right here. Boom. You get smacked right in the backfield as a running back right after you have the ball. He's got another guy climbing around his feet there. Look at this guy climbing around his feet. So he's got to get away from the first 2 guys before he even starts his run. Then he gets out here. He's got another guy now straight up that's got him looking like he's got him. Able to get out of that tackle. Makes a beautiful cut here. Gets the flow of all the defense away from him, back up the football field. I mean, this is just a great run. There's great runs that are 35-yard runs, and there's great runs that can be 7 yards that are some of the better runs you'll ever see. But the cut here, the losing the tackles, the getting around the danger in the backfield multiple times over here. His feel, just ability to feel all of those piles of bodies around him and then not find an escape route, find that hatch, that secret hatch that can get him out of there. Another inside zone run here. Bounces it outside, goes and finds himself 10 yards. I know they got the flag coming in, but still a nice run here. Just peeling away from guys. A couple more I'll show you guys on this one. Good patience here. Gets it up through the hole, finishes the run nice. So I think you guys get the basic idea and understanding about this guy's game. It's not a lot to it. Maybe part of the reason that he drifted down a little bit in the draft as well, that he's not a guy with a wide assembly of a lot of different things he does, but what he does really well. What he's got a lot of it. He just runs over the guy here in the hole. Poor guy. You got to go lower than that, sucker. You got to go lower than that. Bounces off of it, bounces off another one. I mean, this is the Marshawn Lynch Carson thing where it's just they have tackles that they'll have that they just look effortless in how they break them. Like, is this guy trying to tackle him there even? That backside guy that just kind of flips off of his hip? He's right there. I know he's being blocked a little bit, but not really. Not to a great degree. It's not like Xavier Restrepo's got him on lock there. But he dumps this guy, loses that guy, cuts back across the formation, doesn't allow himself to get tackled there. I mean, tell me that doesn't look like Marshawn. You got a guy basically trying to hold him around his neck as he's crossing the end zone. That's when you know it's not gone well. When you're this guy right here with your hands around his head like this. Yeah, the tackling attempt was not a good one when you're up here. And you can see this is why guys are diving for his ankles, is because this is when you look silly. This is when you look like the big brother carrying the little brother on your back. But another just great run where there's multiple things happening here at once. First, a little bit of the patience. Let's go blow by blow on this run. First, the patience to let your blocker get up to the second level, clear the linebacker. Then the ability to lower down your pad level and lay a strike in a short space. Then the ability, after you just broke that tackle, to then just shed this tackle on the backside effortlessly. And as soon as you effortlessly break this tackle, you make an instantaneous cut back to the left side. Then you shake off this guy up around your head, keeping your feet. And then another guy comes in trying to do something. They got three guys on you, and you just sort of bully your way into the end zone. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. I'm just saying. Not too shabby. Not too shabby of a little run there. You always love it with the big backs. Final little run I'll show you of this, then we'll show you a little bit what he does as a pass catcher, a little bit of blocking as well. But I always do love about the power backs, the thing that you get with them that's one of the cooler moments in football is the disappear and reappear. They disappear behind the mass of bodies. You go, boy, they're definitely tackled in there. And then they suddenly, somehow or another, squirt out of a little bit of a hole, still on their feet, and go bust a bit of a big play. And that's just what you're going to get here from him. Completely disappears into the pile of bodies. Okay, he's done. He's all done. Nope. Out he goes. Isn't that cool? You want one example of a guy, how tough he is, how hard he is? How many people it takes to bring him down to the ground, and yet he's still going to keep going? He ain't going to go down. This guy's going to quickly become a fan favorite with this kind of running style. You better believe it. And as I said at the top of the show here, we've got a very keen appreciation for these kind of running backs. Very keen appreciation. It's not high art with this guy. It's not stylistic, but it's effective. And it's worked in football for many, many years, this type of running back. Also, a type of running back that we just don't even have on the roster. As far as a pass catcher goes, I would say not heavily utilized much as far as the pass catching stuff. Pretty marginal on that. There's a little bit here and there with him. I'll give him in that, he's effective as a guy that you can kind of throw out there and work him out in space as far as just throwing to the flat. But you can see here he's got a total of about 30 catches over his college career. not highly used in that way. All that being said, it's functional there, I would say. I don't think that he's probably going to be a third down back kind of guy. That's probably not going to be who he is. It's going to be a lot of this kind of stuff. Just flip it out to the flat and let him go take it and try to do something. Nice little broken tackle there. Look at me. The guy sets this guy up in the open field. This is a thing of beauty. Bump, bump. Guy doesn't even touch him. Doesn't even lay a finger on him here. He stumbled a little bit, but that's tough. Another one here, same. You'll get the idea of this probably pretty quick. Just a little throw into the flat. Ward's just trying to get rid of this ball. He's not really going to tell you much about this being that he's not running routes. He's not going to be McIntosh. You got other guys on this team. All three of the other running backs have a much higher likelihood of being a third down running back than Martinez. He'll be more of a first, second down back. This is those catches of his 30. This is probably the majority of them look a lot like this. Just him leaking out in the backfield, go make the catch, try to go break the tackle one-on-one. Here you get a little bit of a bubble screen. So not a lot to him as a pass catcher. It's fine. But I don't see him as the third down back either because of that. There's other guys that'll be a little more effective and bring a little bit more of a fuller skill set in what they can do on that side of it. Pass pro, there was not a lot of reps. Much of the time, they would just have him leak out into running a route. So you get occasionally here, he's off the play action here. This is the kind of stuff he can do all right. You see, it ain't technically great. He's not Travion Henderson doing it. He'll stick his nose in, and he's a big guy. But these are pretty much what you're going to see from him on the reps. He's just going to try to lay some initial contact on there. He's not trying to set you up, get his hands up. There's going to be some work in progress stuff with him as a pass protector. Here again off the edge. He's able to neutralize him here on the pass set pretty well, the defensive back, but it's not strong technique. It's just kind of where you go, okay, it's fine. It's fine. But it's okay because he doesn't have to suit to some huge major role where this guy is lighting the world on fire doing 10,000 different things. Seahawks just need him to fit to a role. Be a tough, physical runner. Be a guy that could be a short yardage back at times when you need him to lean on that. A guy that has got fluidity in running in zone and running in gap, so he knows what he needs to do on that. He understands how you got to operate in a zone system versus a gap system, which can ask a running back to do different things. And so I love this pick from a standpoint of the value. This was a really, really deep running back class. And so, you would tend to love to grab a running back in those kind of classes, kind of regardless of position, then a little later on in the draft, because there's a much higher chance you are getting a real gem, a real find, because there's only so many backs that can be taken by so many teams. Yet there might be more talented backs than teams need backs. And that's how you can land yourself a really good one. And in this guy, you've got a guy that we've had here in years past that have been a very effective runner in this stadium in this way. You get the inclement weather, you get the wet weather, you get it to where you can't throw the ball around, you get to where the game's going to get a little bit old school and get very simplified really quickly. Having that big kind of back that's hard to tackle in those kind of conditions versus the back who has to get his feet underneath him and make those really sharp cuts in the open field to be able to get away from guys. It's kind of nice to have the guy that can be a bit of a grinder in those kind of games to be able to kind of get you through, especially when the elements are really, really bad. A lot of rain, a lot of wind, a lot of cold, that kind of thing. So he's a back that's also, I think, going to fit really well to the stadium. Certainly didn't do too bad out there at Oregon State when he was rushing the rock for them. I think the Seattle Seahawks have gotten themselves a really good player here in this Damien Martinez. He's going to be your fourth running back. He's going to overtake Holani. I've got little doubts about that, and I like Holani. I do. But I think the team's going to just see the way that this guy runs so physically, runs so hard. They're going to say, look, we can find some carries for this guy over the course of the year. This could be effective for us. We don't necessarily have this on the roster. Zach Charbonnet's built a little bit like a bigger back, a little bit like a guy who should be able to do some of those heavy hitter things, but it's just not been something that's been really a big part of his game. Certainly the lack of run blocking has not aided in us being a terribly effective short yardage team over the last couple of years, but having a kind of back like this that can get it done all on his own at times definitely takes you a long way to making that a little bit better and a little bit more improved. But you guys let me know on this guy. Is this one of your more excited picks as it was for me as far as this selection goes, and that you look at this guy and go, boy, this guy should never have fallen to the 7th round. In other drafts with other running back classes that would have been a little bit lighter, I think he would have very easily been taken up in that 4th round. But I think that the two parts that come into play are the extreme depth of the running back class And then the aspect of there's some little bit of some questions with him, maybe questions on work ethic, maybe questions on commitment, right? And that's the thing that, NFL teams are going to be doing more advanced math on, where if you show some evidence of that in college, they will jump on that and they'll kind of take you off the board a little bit because of it. It'll be enough for them to where they can find other cleaner prospects that haven't been dealing with that type of stuff where it's not a question. So this is why he landed in your lap. These are the main reason you were able to get your hands on him. But he's a hell of a player. And he's a guy that should find a role on this team and at least some carries throughout the year. And it wouldn't surprise me if we eventually end up finding this guy getting kind of a shared load with another running back here into the future. I'm talking kind of a couple of years down the line potentially. If he was to find his way in that manner, it wouldn't surprise me because it's not easy to necessarily find guys that, number one, have the size. Every one of these running backs coming out anymore seem to be somewhere between 185 and 205 pounds. So getting a guy at legitimately 230 who also runs really hard and has enough juice athletically where he's not a 4.65, 4.7 guy, they are hard to find. To me, it's almost much easier to find the 4.4 guy that's a burner in the open field and can get it going. Your Bashaw, Tootin kind of guy from Virginia. Wasn't Virginia Tech? Yeah, I think it's Virginia Tech this year. No, Syracuse, I want to say. So he's out there at Syracuse. That kind of guy, you can find usually a couple of those guys every kind of draft. But this kind of guy, not the same. Not in the same way. Seth K. Aloha. Thank you for the $5 donation, Seth. I really appreciate you for that. Says, would not be surprised to me if this guy is running back 2 at some point this season. Another amazing value draft pick. You encapsulate it well, you capture it well, which is that I wouldn't be surprised if it played out that way as well. And that this is a guy that's got a unique skill set versus what you have through the rest of the roster. And all of your running backs on this roster all have kind of their own individual thing that they bring to the table, which is cool because you can intermix these skills. A smart offensive coordinator is going to know how to kind of use the different things that these guys bring to the table. But having that power is really nice. And when you look at in the given history of, let's say, a Kubiak system or a Shanahan system, you go back to Mike Shanahan back with the Denver Broncos, there have been a variety of different archetype running backs that have come through. But there is always back to a little bit of that old model, the original model for this given West Coast offensive scheme, this iteration of the Bill Walsh West Coast offense. And that is kind of the Terrell Davis type of guy. The guy that's a little bit bigger, that's got some true explosiveness to the way he rolls, that's very hard to tackle, that you've got to bring your hard hat, that you got to bring the right technique to bring those guys to the ground. That there's so many of those running backs through the years when you look at this system that have been the typical archetype that they've leaned on in this system. Because at the end of the day, what the zone system's trying to do is it loves to bust off the 40, 50 yarders in the rush game. That's great. But it wants positive plays on every rushing attempt. And ideally, it'd like to be getting those 3 or 4 yards every rushing attempt minimum to make sure that it's constantly manufacturing third and shorts, third and makeables. The offense is about moving the chains, and you move the chains by getting yourself into third and manageable on a consistent basis, or just staying out of third downs all the way around in that method of things. So this is a lot of why this kind of back has fit so well to this team versus the undersized guy that's just a run around burner type. Like I was talking about, a little bit more of that kind of archetype. Now, there's been those guys in this offense too, and the Niners especially have at times leaned into with Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert, of a little bit of these, maybe a little more lighter, speedier guys in that way. McCaffrey's a little bit like that too, to a degree. So he's shown a little willingness to kind of bend off of his father's model, but Mike Shanahan was very hard-lined on this, where whether it was an Alfred Collins or a Terrell Davis, even a Clinton Portis, you're going to be a little bit bigger, you're going to have some explosiveness, and you're going to be able to fight through some tackles. So it wouldn't surprise me as well, Seth, if this is the way that this plays out with this guy, because he's just built that way to do it. He really is. And it has fit in the past to this offense in that manner. Will be interesting to watch. And if he does light it up, does that put maybe one of the other running backs up ahead of him on the pecking order, potentially up on the trade block, if they do feel so good about the depth of where the running back position is. But absolutely a tremendous value pick. I did 4th round grade on Damien Martinez in this last draft. So to get him all the way in the 7th round is tremendous, tremendous. But there was more than a few of those picks in this given draft. More than a few, I would say. Appreciate you for that, Seth. Thank you for that dono. And we will put a little bit of a wrap on that one at this point, folks, as we got a good 45 minutes in here on Damien Martinez. And I appreciate you guys watching today. This is what we've been missing for a while. Yep, we've been missing a bruiser for a while. Certainly since Chris Carson left, you have felt a lack of a presence of physicality in the run game. And it was such an inherent part of the Coach Carroll teams that would always have guys that were that way, whether it was Marshawn or Thomas Rawls for a year, or there was Chris Carson. You found a way to find that guy that could fit to that role, and it's just a tremendous benefit to the offense to have a guy like that defenses really have to make sure that they're preparing well and tackling right to deal with them, and it takes a lot of attention. D Nugget did get a chance to see the Pete Carroll interview with Brock and Salk. Definitely would recommend it to anybody out there. It was very, very cool little interview there and gave you some insights into it. It sounds like there's no real hard feelings between the organization and Pete, which is really good to hear, and that he was feeling love from the 12s, which is great. Definitely great. So, yeah, definitely go check that out, folks, on that side of it. We will be almost getting finished up here pretty shortly tomorrow with looking at Ricky White, another wide receiver, another value pick. And I really wouldn't normally always concentrate on 6th, 7th, 5th rounders in these given drafts. I'm doing it this year as much as any reason because I got some faith in these guys. I think these guys are going to be able to play. I think they're going to bring impact to this team in some way. And whether that's Torrey Horton to maybe ascend to become eventually a number 2, number 1 wide receiver on this team because he's got a lot of talent to him, or Ricky White, who's got a little bit of the Doug Baldwin vibes to him a little bit. And that this is a guy that's real scrappy, who just gets open, really good route runner, didn't have a lot to work with out there at UNLV, didn't have the best quarterback situation that he was operating underneath. But in a lot of ways at times in certain games, he was carrying that team for them. He was a vital part for them. And then you add on top of it that this guy's a special teamer too. I think he's blocked a couple of punts. He's a guy that's just a football player and how he goes about his business. So another guy that I think is going to be a guy that once you get him on the field running routes and doing his thing, he's going to get a lot of people's attention out there. And it wouldn't surprise me if both Horton and him end up making the active roster. So tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at our guy out of UNLV, Ricky White, our other receiver that we took in this draft. Another very good value pick, though. So don't sell on this guy just because he's a 7th rounder. This guy should not have dropped that far. He's a good player, and I think he's going to have a chance here to make some impact, especially with what he does within the special teams angle of things, which is something that when you're a back-end wide receiver, that can be the difference between you making a roster and not making a roster. But whether he makes it or not, or this Ricky White kid just becomes a practice squad guy, as a development guy, even in that lane of things, you give him a year out from now on this roster, on that practice squad, and if he were to ascend and become a guy that starts to get some real true snaps in the game, wouldn't shock me. So join me tomorrow. We'll be coming back there with a breakdown on Ricky White, and we've got a loaded schedule I've been working on here for the next couple of weeks. Even in this offseason, we've got some shows set up here and designed for you as we start to pivot off some of the draft prospects and look to some of the areas of this team going into the new year. I thank you guys for riding with me today. If you could, for me, please hit that like button, as it does help the channel out, helps me grow, helps me show up on that algorithm, and I really, really do appreciate it. And I thank all the new folks here recently who have been subbing up since we've gone to the new format here of a daily show. We'll keep coming at you guys here Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock every single day. We're going to be doing a Hawks Nest show for you guys on that side of it. So do continue to join us on that side. Thank you for hitting that like button. I thank you for subscribing. Seth K. Aloha, you are the man. Appreciate the donation on that side of it. We'll be back in less than 24 hours. But until that time, don't you dare forget. Don't you do it. Go Hawks.